For centuries, the very name Freemasonry has evoked a sense of mystery, its legacy etched not in the faces of men but in the silent language of symbols, architecture and ritual objects that have endured through the ages. Behind closed doors, in rooms adorned with enigmatic artifacts, rituals have unfolded in secrecy, their meanings preserved in the careful arrangement of objects and the echo of tradition. Freemasonry stands as one of the world's oldest and most enigmatic societies, its story woven into the very fabric of history, surviving revolutions, papal decrees, and the shifting tides of empires, all while its true essence remained hidden in plain sight. The narrative of Freemasonry is not merely a tale of people, but of ideas and ideals encoded in the architecture of lodges and the symbolism that adorns their halls. What is this organization, whose influence can be traced in the crests of nations, the pages of philosophy, and the brushstrokes of art? At its core, Freemasonry describes itself not as a secret society, but as a society with secrets, its teachings veiled in allegory, its lessons illustrated by symbols, and its purpose inscribed in the pursuit of moral and intellectual refinement. The journey of Freemasonry is one of self-improvement, service to the community, and the relentless quest for wisdom, all reflected in the silent testimony of its artifacts and records. Its presence spans continents and cultures, a testament to its enduring appeal and the universality of its ideals, as seen in the lodges that dot the globe. Today, the fraternity's reach extends to millions, its influence felt in the quiet dignity of its meeting places and the enduring legacy of its traditions. These lodges, scattered from the bustling metropolises of Europe and North America to the tranquil corners of distant lands, serve as sanctuaries for the preservation and transmission of Masonic knowledge. In France, a nation with a storied and often turbulent Masonic past, the fraternity's presence is marked by nearly 175,000 members, each lodge a chapter in a larger narrative of resilience and adaptation. Freemasonry is not a monolith, but a constellation of independent jurisdictions, each with its own customs and traditions, yet all united by a shared heritage and a common set of values. The vast network of lodges and the enduring symbols of unity speak to a profound human longing for connection, belonging, and a structured path toward ethical and personal growth. The allure of Freemasonry lies in its deliberate privacy, its mysteries preserved behind doors that have withstood the scrutiny of centuries. The commitment to confidentiality regarding its ceremonies has fueled speculation and curiosity, yet the true purpose of this discretion is to safeguard the transformative experience for each new initiate. This tradition of secrecy is not meant to conceal sinister plots, but to preserve the integrity of the rituals, allowing each participant to encounter the symbolic lessons without bias or expectation. Within these protected spaces, ideas are exchanged freely, and philosophical discussions flourish, unburdened by the pressures of the outside world. This environment fosters a unique bond, a shared experience that transcends boundaries of culture, creed and politics, uniting all who enter in the pursuit of knowledge and virtue. To truly understand Freemasonry is to embark on a journey through time, tracing its evolution from the practical guilds of medieval craftsmen to a global institution of philosophical inquiry. Throughout history, Freemasonry has championed the ideals of liberty, equality and fraternity, its influence visible in the symbols and mottos that have shaped societies. It offers a framework for exploring the relationship between the individual, the community and the concept of a higher power, reverently referred to as the great architect of the universe. This introduction merely scratches the surface of a complex and influential organization whose true nature is revealed not in sensational tales, but in the quiet, enduring legacy of its symbols, its architecture, and the ideals it has inspired across generations. The tale of Freemasonry's beginnings is etched not in the lofty halls of abstract thought, but in the very earth and stone of the medieval world. Imagine a landscape shrouded in mist, where the rising sun glimmers on the rough-hewn blocks scattered across a construction site, and the air is thick with the scent of damp earth and freshly cut limestone. In these muddy, bustling sites, the earliest roots of the fraternity took hold. The ground is churned by countless feet, and the clang of metal on stone echoes through the morning air. The word Freemason emerges from the annals of the Middle Ages, a time when the world was being transformed by the rise of monumental architecture. The term itself, inscribed on ancient parchment, hints at a lineage of knowledge and skill passed down through generations. These were the centuries of the great cathedrals, towers of stone and glass that reached skyward. Their intricate details are testament to the mastery of those who shaped them. Each arch, each buttress, each luminous window was born from a profound understanding of geometry and the properties of stone. The Freemasons, as they came to be known, were the elite artisans of their era. Their hands shaped freestone, limestone and sandstone of such fine grain that it could be carved into the most delicate tracery or the boldest structural forms. Every chisel mark was a signature of expertise, every finished block a silent testament to years of learning. Unlike other trades bound to a single town or market, these operative masons were free to journey wherever their rare skills were needed. Across rolling hills and dense forests, they travelled from one ambitious project to the next, their tools slung over their shoulders, their knowledge carried in memory and tradition. To safeguard the secrets of their craft and uphold the highest standards, these itinerant builders formed close-knit brotherhoods. Within these circles, knowledge was guarded and trust was paramount. Their sanctuaries were the temporary lodges, wooden structures nestled against the rising walls of cathedrals. Here the day's labour gave way to quiet study and the sharing of wisdom. Within these humble spaces, the cycle of learning continued. Apprentices absorbed the mysteries of the craft, while seasoned artisans exchanged stories and techniques over simple meals, forging bonds that would last a lifetime. The lodge was more than a shelter. It was the crucible in which the fraternity's earliest traditions were formed. By candlelight, surrounded by the tools of their trade, the first codes of conduct and mutual support were established. Rules were inscribed on parchment, setting forth the expectations for behaviour, the responsibilities owed to the craft, and the standards that must never be compromised. Methods of recognition were devised, subtle gestures, marks and symbols, ensuring that only those truly initiated could claim the title of Freemason. A clear hierarchy emerged. With each level, entered apprentice, fellow craft and master mason, representing a deeper mastery of the art and a greater share of responsibility. This structure not only ensured the quality of the work, but also provided a safety net for those in need, fostering a spirit of solidarity in a world where danger and uncertainty were ever present. The earliest surviving records of these customs are known as the Old Charges, documents that codified the rules, rituals and values of the guilds. The oldest, the Regius poem, dates to the late 14th century, its verses blending practical instruction with allegorical tales. Soon after came the Cook manuscript, further elaborating the rules and legendary origins of the craft. These texts are a tapestry of regulation and myth, weaving together the daily realities of the Mason's life with stories of ancient wisdom and legendary figures. They detail the obligations owed to the master of the work, to fellow craftsmen, and to the greater good, emphasizing the virtues of honesty, diligence, and mutual aid. The spirit of cooperation and support was enshrined in every rule, binding the members together in a web of trust and shared purpose. The origins of the craft were traced back through the ages. To the earliest practitioners of geometry and the legendary builders of antiquity, imbuing the work with a sense of sacred tradition and moral weight. These manuscripts became the bedrock of the fraternity, their words and symbols forming the foundation upon which all future Freemasonry would rest. The very act of laying a cornerstone became a ritual, a moment when the ideals of the craft were set in stone for generations to come. This era, known as operative Freemasonry, was defined by the tangible art and science of building, measuring, chiseling, and assembling the raw materials of the earth into enduring monuments. The tools of the trade, the square, the compasses, the level, and the plumb rule, were not yet symbols but essential instruments used daily to transform rough stone into perfect form. The lodge was a place of industry filled with the sounds of labour and the quiet exchange of knowledge. The secrets guarded within were the specialized techniques of the craft, methods honed over centuries, passed from master to apprentice in a lineage of skill. Yet even in this world of stone and sweat, the first seeds of a deeper, more philosophical society were being sown. The emphasis on morality, brotherhood, and a shared symbolic history began to transcend the daily toil, hinting at a future where the lessons of the lodge would reach far beyond the walls of any cathedral. In the waning light of the 16th century, the ancient stone lodges, once bustling with the echoes of chisels and the rhythmic thud of mallets, began to witness a profound transformation. The very walls, steeped in centuries of tradition, stood silent as the world outside shifted. The age of grand cathedrals and monumental stonework was drawing to a close, and with it the lodges faced an uncertain future. As the demand for towering spires and intricate stone vaults diminished, the once thriving quarries and construction sites fell quiet. The tools of the operative masons, honed by generations, rested unused, gathering dust in the corners of deserted workshops. The lodges, which had served as the heart of the craft, now found themselves echoing with memories rather than the sounds of labour. In response to this decline, the lodges sought new ways to preserve their ancient customs and ensure their survival. The stone walls, once witnesses to the secrets of the craft, now became guardians of a new kind of knowledge, one not bound to the physical act of building but to the preservation of tradition itself. The lodges began to open their doors to ideas and philosophies that extended beyond the quarry and the work site. The air within these ancient chambers grew thick with the scent of parchment and ink, as documents and symbols were studied by candlelight. The focus shifted from the mastery of stone to the mastery of thought, and the lodges became sanctuaries for the exploration of history, symbolism, and moral philosophy. The very atmosphere of the lodge changed. The flickering candlelight cast long shadows on the stone walls, illuminating symbols and tools that now took on new meanings. The traditions of the craft, once practical and tangible, began to evolve into allegories, each tool, each ritual, a metaphor for the pursuit of wisdom and virtue. This was the pivotal moment when the lodges themselves became vessels of transformation. The passing of ancient tomes and the careful preservation of ritual signified a shift from the physical to the philosophical. The lodge, once a place of instruction in the art of stone, now became a crucible for the refinement of character and intellect. The chronicles of this era are preserved in the records and diaries that survived the centuries. These documents, written in careful script and stored in the quiet recesses of the lodge, bear witness to the dawn of a new tradition, one that would shape the destiny of the lodges for generations to come. The pages of these diaries, yellowed with age, record the momentous shift from operative to speculative practice. The ink, faded but enduring, tells the story of a time when the lodge became a place not just for the transmission of craft, but for the cultivation of the mind and spirit. The symbols of the craft, once practical guides for shaping stone, were now studied as keys to deeper truths. The square, the compass, and the level became objects of contemplation, their meanings layered and profound, inviting endless interpretation and reflection. The tools were no longer valued solely for their utility, but for the lessons they could impart. The allegories of the lodge encouraged the pursuit of self-improvement, urging each member to refine their character as carefully as a mason-shaped stone. The square, once used to test the accuracy of a stone's angle, now symbolized the importance of living a life aligned with virtue and integrity. Its presence in the lodge served as a constant reminder of the ideals to which all aspired. This gradual evolution from a guild of craftsmen to a society of seekers marked a turning point in the history of the lodges. The very essence of the organization was transformed as the focus shifted from the external act of building to the internal journey of self-discovery. The lodge itself became a metaphorical temple, a space for meditation, reflection, and the pursuit of enlightenment. The silent stones, bathed in shafts of sunlight, bore witness to the quiet transformation taking place within their walls. The tools of the stonemason, carefully arranged and preserved, were reinterpreted as instruments for ethical living. Each tool became a symbol, its purpose reimagined to guide the moral and spiritual development of those who entered the lodge. The rough ashlar, an unshaped stone from the quarry, came to represent the raw, unrefined state of the individual. Its jagged edges and irregular form symbolized the imperfections and potential within every person. In contrast, the perfect ashlar, a stone polished and shaped to perfection, stood as a symbol of the enlightened self, refined through discipline, knowledge and introspection. The journey from rough to perfect ashlar became an allegory for the lifelong pursuit of wisdom and virtue. The lodge, once a site of physical labour, was now revered as a sanctuary for contemplation and the transmission of moral teachings. The stones and tools, silent and enduring, became the language through which these lessons were conveyed. By the dawn of the 18th century, the lodges had been transformed. The ancient halls, filled with the echoes of tradition, now resonated with the silent presence of symbols and allegories, their meanings deepened by centuries of reflection. The operative masons, once the lifeblood of the fraternity, became a quiet minority. The lodges, now dominated by the language of symbolism and philosophy, stood as monuments to a new era. This period marked the true birth of modern Freemasonry, a society dedicated not to the construction of stone edifices, but to the building of character and the pursuit of enlightenment. The transformation was gradual, unfolding over decades. The stones of the lodge, unchanged in their physical form, bore silent witness to the evolution of purpose and meaning within their walls. The enduring symbols and traditions of the medieval craft provided a fertile foundation for this new society. The lodges, steeped in history and mystery, became beacons for those seeking knowledge and self-improvement, their influence spreading far beyond the stone walls in which they were born. The year 1717 emerges as a pivotal turning point in the annals of Freemasonry, a moment when the scattered embers of tradition were gathered and kindled into a single, enduring flame. In the heart of London, on St. John the Baptist's Day, 4 lodges, each with its own customs, rituals and closely guarded secrets, chose to set aside their independence for a greater purpose. They resolved to unite, forging a new path that would forever alter the destiny of the fraternity. The site of this historic convergence was a humble alehouse, yet the decision made within its walls would echo across continents and centuries. By forming the first Grand Lodge, these lodges established a central authority, a governing body that could bring order to the previously uncoordinated world of Freemasonry. This new structure was not merely administrative. It was transformative. It allowed for the standardization of rituals, ensuring that the ancient ceremonies and symbols would be preserved and practiced with consistency, no matter where a lodge might be founded. The Grand Lodge's power to issue charters became a catalyst for growth. No longer would new lodges spring up in isolation, each inventing its own traditions. Instead, every new lodge would be linked to the central body, bound by a common set of rules and a shared heritage. This unity provided Freemasonry with a public identity, a face that could be presented to the world with confidence and pride. The transformation from a loose network of independent lodges to a coordinated, centralized entity was the spark that ignited Freemasonry's rapid expansion. The Grand Lodge became a beacon, drawing interest from all corners of society. Its influence grew even more pronounced in 1721, when the Grand Lodge elected a Grand Master of high social standing. This act bestowed prestige and legitimacy upon the organization, attracting individuals of intellect and influence who saw in Freemasonry a reflection of their own ideals. To further solidify its foundation, the Grand Lodge commissioned the creation of a new constitution. This document, crafted by a learned minister, blended the legendary history of the fraternity with the progressive ideals of the Enlightenment. It enshrined principles of religious tolerance and rational thought, offering a philosophical framework that resonated with the spirit of the age. The publication of this constitution in 1723 provided Freemasonry with a unified code, a set of guiding principles that would appeal to thinkers and seekers across the world. With its structure firmly established and its philosophy clearly articulated, Freemasonry began to spread with astonishing speed. Its message of reason, tolerance, and universal brotherhood found eager audiences wherever it travelled. The fraternity's ideals were carried far beyond the borders of England, reaching distant lands through the movements of commerce, exploration, and diplomacy. In the years that followed, the establishment of new lodges became a global phenomenon. The first lodge in Paris appeared just a few years after the Grand Lodge's founding, a testament to the fraternity's appeal and adaptability. From there, the network expanded across Europe into the American colonies, India, and beyond. Each new lodge became a node in a vast interconnected web, a cosmopolitan institution that transcended national and religious boundaries. Freemasonry's rapid expansion ensured its place as a significant cultural force. It offered a unique social space, a sanctuary where individuals from diverse backgrounds could meet as equals, united by a shared commitment to its timeless principles. The creation of the Grand Lodge was the masterstroke that transformed a collection of English traditions into the blueprint for a worldwide movement. This transformation laid the groundwork for Freemasonry's profound influence on the social and intellectual history of the modern world. What began as a local tradition was elevated to an international phenomenon, its reach extending to every corner of the globe. The decision made in that modest alehouse was not merely the formation of a committee. It was the birth of a global idea, an idea that would shape the course of history for generations to come. At the very core of the Masonic experience lies a rich and intricate language of symbolism woven into every aspect of its tradition. Each tool, each emblem, is more than a mere object. It is a vessel for layered meaning, a silent teacher guiding the mind toward deeper understanding. The foundation of Freemasonry's symbolic system is built upon the tools of the medieval stonemason. These implements, once used to shape stone and raise cathedrals, are transformed into metaphors, each one chosen for its ability to convey a lesson or a principle. The chisel, the mallet, the plumb, and the level, all are imbued with significance, their physical forms echoing the values and aspirations of the craft. The symbolic method is not meant to dictate, but to inspire contemplation. Each tool invites the observer to ponder its purpose, to seek out the hidden wisdom within its shape and function. The chisel, for example, refines the rough stone, just as discipline and learning refine the mind. The mallet, with its steady force, represents the will to act and the power to shape one's destiny. Among all these symbols, the square and compasses stand supreme. Their interlocking forms are instantly recognizable, their meaning profound and multifaceted. The square and compasses, often joined by the letter G, form the heart of Masonic iconography. The square, with its perfect right angles, is a constant reminder to act with honesty and fairness, to measure every deed against the standard of virtue. The compasses, with their sweeping arcs, urge restraint and self-mastery, teaching the importance of drawing boundaries and maintaining balance in all things. The square's rigid lines symbolize the unwavering nature of moral law. Just as a stone must be squared to fit perfectly in a structure, so must actions be aligned with principles to build a life of integrity. The craftsman's careful measurement becomes a metaphor for the constant evaluation of one's own conduct. The compasses, meanwhile, draw circles, symbols of unity, wholeness, and the infinite. Their movement is controlled, never straying beyond the set radius, illustrating the necessity of keeping desires and passions within the bounds of reason. The compasses teach that true wisdom lies in self-control, in the ability to govern one's impulses and maintain harmony within. Another emblem of great significance is the all-seeing eye, set within the shining delta. The triangle, with its three equal sides, represents balance and the unity of opposites, while the eye at its centre is a symbol of perpetual vigilance and insight. The all-seeing eye gazes out from its triangular frame, a silent witness to every action. It is not a symbol of surveillance, but of conscience, a reminder that every deed, no matter how small, is observed and weighed. The triangle's 3 points evoke the tripartite nature of existence: past, present, and future, thought, word, and deed. The term Great Architect of the Universe is inscribed in the symbolism not as a name, but as a concept, an acknowledgement of a higher order, a cosmic intelligence that transcends all boundaries. The tools and emblems are not tied to any one faith, but are open to all who seek meaning in the patterns of the world. The all-seeing eye, for some, is a symbol of divine providence. For others, it is the embodiment of universal law or the rational structure of the cosmos. Its gaze is impartial, its presence a call to live with awareness and responsibility. The ever-watchful eye serves as a constant reminder that every action leaves a mark, that integrity is not a private matter, but a universal imperative. The light streaming through the window, illuminating the symbols, is itself a metaphor for enlightenment and the pursuit of truth. The floor of the lodge, a mosaic of black and white tiles, is a stage upon which the drama of existence unfolds. Each tile, light or dark, represents the dualities that define the world: joy and sorrow, virtue and vice, knowledge and ignorance. The interplay of black and white is not a battle but a balance. The checkerboard pattern teaches that life is a journey through contrasts, and that wisdom lies in navigating these opposites with grace and understanding. To walk upon this floor is to accept the challenge of existence, to move forward with confidence and poise, ever mindful of the need for equilibrium. The balanced stones echo the lesson. Stability is achieved not by denying difference, but by embracing it. Each step across the mosaic is a symbolic act, a reminder that the path of life is neither wholly light nor wholly dark, but a blend of both. The ceremonial procession becomes a meditation on the art of living harmoniously amidst complexity. The skull and crossbones, often misunderstood, is a symbol of mortality. It is not a threat, but a gentle admonition, a reminder that life is finite and that every moment is precious. The presence of this emblem urges reflection on the brevity of existence and the importance of living with purpose, striving always to leave a legacy of virtue before the inevitable end. The genius of Masonic symbolism lies in its depth. Each tool, each emblem, is a doorway to further meaning, inviting endless exploration and interpretation. The journey begins with simple lessons: the square for honesty, the compasses for restraint, the chisel for refinement. These are the first steps, the foundation stones upon which greater understanding is built. As the journey continues, the meanings deepen. The tools reveal new layers, their symbolism expanding to encompass philosophical and esoteric truths. The level becomes a symbol of equality, the plumb a guide to uprightness, the trowel a call to spread harmony. The rituals themselves are enacted allegories, each movement and gesture a symbol, each tool a prop in the drama of self-discovery and transformation. The orientation of the lodge from west to east mirrors the journey from darkness to light, from ignorance to knowledge. The rising sun is a symbol of awakening, the promise of new understanding. The white lambskin apron and gloves worn during ceremonies are emblems of purity and dedication. Their unblemished surface is a pledge to uphold the highest ideals, to work with clean hands and a clear conscience. Through this intricate language of tools and symbols, Freemasonry imparts its most profound lessons. The journey is endless, the meanings ever unfolding, inviting all who seek wisdom to embark upon a path of lifelong discovery. The 18th century, often called the Age of Enlightenment, was a period of extraordinary intellectual ferment. In this era, the world was alive with the hum of new ideas. Reason, skepticism, and the pursuit of knowledge began to challenge the old order. Within this vibrant landscape, Freemasonry emerged as a silent architect, its influence woven into the very fabric of Enlightenment thought. The fraternities' lodges became sanctuaries for the exchange of radical ideas. Here the air was thick with the scent of wax and parchment, and the walls echoed with discussions on reason, tolerance, and liberty. The Masonic emphasis on personal growth and the relentless pursuit of truth made these lodges fertile ground for the seeds of enlightenment to take root and flourish. In a world divided by rigid social hierarchies and religious dogma, the lodge offered a rare sanctuary. Here, the boundaries of class and creed dissolved, replaced by a shared commitment to intellectual exploration. Ideas that would have been considered heretical or subversive outside these walls were debated freely, shielded by the fraternity's traditions of secrecy and mutual respect. Through a vast and discreet network, Freemasonry became a powerful vehicle for the dissemination of Enlightenment values. The lodges acted as conduits, transmitting the ideals of rational inquiry, civil liberty, and social reform from one city to another, crossing borders and oceans. The fraternity's influence was not limited to a single region or discipline. Its lodges attracted some of the most brilliant minds of the age: philosophers, scientists, artists, and statesmen, each drawn by the promise of intellectual freedom and the pursuit of a more enlightened world. In France, the lodges became crucibles for revolutionary thought. Within their walls, the principles of civil liberty and the challenge to absolute authority were refined and sharpened, ready to be unleashed upon the world beyond. The influence of Freemasonry extended into the arts. Music, literature, and theatre became vehicles for the fraternity's ideals. Operas and symphonies, rich with Masonic symbolism, celebrated the triumph of reason and enlightenment over superstition and tyranny, their melodies echoing the call for a new age. In Germany, the written word became a powerful tool. The ideals of Freemasonry found their way into treatises and poems, shaping the intellectual climate and inspiring generations to question, to seek, and to create. Across the Atlantic, The influence of Freemasonry was woven into the very fabric of revolution. The lodges of the American colonies became incubators for the principles that would define a new nation: liberty, equality, and the pursuit of a more perfect union. Within these sacred spaces, the foundational documents of a nation were conceived and debated. The ideals enshrined in the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution echoed the core tenets discussed within Masonic lodges, their language shaped by the fraternities' commitment to reason and justice. The spirit of inquiry that defined the Enlightenment was nurtured within the fraternity. Scientific experiments, philosophical debates, and the exchange of revolutionary ideas all found a home within the lodge, shielded from the scrutiny of a suspicious world. Rituals and symbols, carefully preserved and passed down through generations, served as reminders of the fraternity's deeper purpose: to inspire its members to seek truth, to act with integrity, and to build a society founded on the principles of enlightenment. The language of liberty and equality, so central to the founding documents of the modern world, was refined and championed within the fraternity's walls. The pursuit of a more perfect union was not merely a political goal, but a moral imperative, shaped by the ideals of Freemasonry. The synergy between Freemasonry and the Enlightenment created a force greater than the sum of its parts. Together, they propelled society toward new horizons, challenging old certainties and inspiring generations to dream of a better world. The fraternity did not operate as a political party or a secret government. Instead, it functioned as an incubator of ideas, a place where the boundaries of possibility could be stretched and the future could be imagined anew. Through its network, Freemasonry connected those who were passionate about building a more rational, humane, and just society. The bonds forged within the lodge transcended borders, uniting individuals in a shared quest for progress. By championing scientific inquiry, religious tolerance, and democratic principles, Freemasonry helped to lay the intellectual foundations for the modern Western world. Its lodges became laboratories for the mind, where the great experiments of the Enlightenment were conceived and refined. Freemasonry was both a product and a shaper of its time. Through its rituals, symbols, and unwavering commitment to enlightenment, it became one of the most effective instruments for nurturing the progressive spirit that defined an age and continues to inspire the world today. In the silent corridors of history, the architecture of Freemasonry stands as a monument to secrecy and symbolism. The very walls of its lodges, shrouded in shadow and adorned with cryptic emblems, have long invited speculation. The allure of the unknown, the locked doors and veiled rituals, creates a fertile ground for the imagination to wander. The absence of open windows into these chambers, the deliberate concealment of meaning behind every symbol, transforms the ordinary into the extraordinary, and the mundane into the mysterious. The structure of secrecy itself becomes a canvas upon which the mind paints elaborate narratives. The closed doors, the whispered oaths, the intricate regalia, each detail is magnified by the lack of explanation, inviting endless interpretation. In the absence of transparency, the imagination fills the void with stories of hidden power and clandestine influence. The written word, preserved in ancient decrees and papal edicts, becomes a testament to suspicion. The papal bull of 1738, inscribed on parchment and sealed with authority, stands as a symbol of institutional anxiety. The document itself, with its ornate script and solemn language, transforms the abstract fear of the unknown into a tangible artifact of opposition. The grand halls of religious power, echoing with the weight of tradition, become arenas of conflict. The architecture of the church, with its soaring ceilings and stained glass, stands in contrast to the shadowed lodges of Freemasonry. The tension between these spaces is not merely ideological but architectural, a clash of sanctuaries, each guarding its own mysteries. The streets of history, paved with the stones of debate, witness the silent struggle between the visible and the hidden. The papal ban, inscribed in the annals of time, weaves a narrative of opposition that lingers in the very air of these historic avenues. In the flickering candlelight of secrecy, the written page becomes a vessel for invention. The typewriter's keys, the rustle of mysterious papers, the spread of documents across a desk. These are the tools by which myth is manufactured. The absence of witnesses allows fiction to flourish, unchecked by the constraints of fact. The press, with its power to amplify and distort, becomes an engine of legend. The black and white headlines, the ink-stained pages, the clatter of the printing press, all conspire to transform rumour into reality. The city streets lined with newsstands become conduits for the spread of sensational tales. The printed word, bound in lurid covers and illustrated with dramatic imagery, becomes a repository for the wildest imaginings. The pamphlets and books, stacked high and distributed widely, serve as vessels for stories of darkness and ritual, each page a step deeper into the labyrinth of conspiracy. The air itself seems to thicken with rumour as the stories circulate from page to ear, from whisper to legend. The smoke-filled rooms and crowded cafes become echo chambers, amplifying the resonance of scandal until it becomes indistinguishable from truth. The spectacle of revelation, staged before the flashing lights of the press, becomes a theatre of deception. The confession of a hoax, delivered with flourish, does little to dispel the shadows already cast. The myth, once released, takes on a life of its own, immune to the clarifying light of truth. The shelves of history groan under the weight of conspiracy, each book a testament to the persistence of myth. The symbols and slogans repeated across generations become part of the cultural landscape, their origins obscured by the passage of time. The most insidious narratives are those that masquerade as revelation. The protocols of the Elders of Zion, bound in mystery and cloaked in false authority, emerges as a document of pure fabrication. Its pages, heavy with accusation, become instruments of division and fear. The city streets of early 20th century Russia, the presses churning out copies of the protocols, become the arteries through which this poison flows. The document, passed from hand to hand, seeps into the collective consciousness, blurring the line between fiction and reality. Symbols, stripped of their original meaning, are fused together in the crucible of conspiracy. The square and compass, the Star of David, each is transformed into a cipher for hidden plots, their true significance lost beneath layers of suspicion. The machinery of propaganda, relentless and unyielding, grinds myth into dogma. The banners, the bonfires, the symbols of hate, all are fueled by the false narratives that began as whispers in the dark. The protocols, exposed as plagiarism, nevertheless become a cornerstone for persecution, their influence echoing through the corridors of power. The persistence of these stories is not a reflection of Freemasonry, but of the architecture of the mind. The human psyche, ever wary of the unseen, constructs elaborate explanations for the inexplicable. The unknown becomes a mirror, reflecting the anxieties and fears of the age. In the storm of uncertainty, the mind seeks shelter in the idea of control. The thunderclouds gathering over the city, the flicker of lightning illuminating the unknown, become metaphors for the search for order in chaos. The allure of a hidden hand guiding events offers comfort, even as it deepens the shadows. The global reach of Freemasonry, mapped in lines and connections, becomes a web upon which the imagination projects its fears. The high-rise boardrooms, the secretive lodges, the pins on distant cities, all are woven into a tapestry of intrigue, each thread a story waiting to be told. The image of the secretive Mason, cloaked in shadow and surrounded by symbols, endures as a fixture in the landscape of conspiracy. The candle-lit table, the masked assembly, the ancient book, all are props in a drama that plays out endlessly in the imagination. The reality of Freemasonry, grounded in ritual and fraternity, is eclipsed by the enduring power of myth, a testament to the irresistible allure of the unknown. The 20th century dawned with a sense of promise, but it soon became a crucible of extremes, where the rise of totalitarian ideologies cast a long and ominous shadow over Freemasonry. As the world was swept by waves of political upheaval, the fraternity found itself in the crosshairs of regimes that viewed its principles as a direct threat to their absolute control. Freemasonry's core values, individual liberty, freedom of thought, and international brotherhood, stood in stark contrast to the rigid doctrines of fascism, Nazism, and communism. These regimes demanded unwavering loyalty to the state, suppressing any form of independent association or dissent. As dictators seized power across Europe and beyond, Freemasons were among the first to be singled out. Their meetings, once places of philosophical debate and mutual support, became targets for surveillance and infiltration. The mere act of gathering in secret was enough to arouse suspicion and provoke harsh reprisals. Totalitarian leaders saw the fraternity as a rival source of loyalty, a clandestine network of independent thinkers who could not be easily manipulated. The secrecy of Masonic rituals and the bonds of brotherhood were interpreted as evidence of conspiracy, fueling paranoia at the highest levels of government. The international connections of Freemasonry, once a source of pride and unity, now made it suspect. Regimes accused the fraternity of serving as a vehicle for foreign influence, espionage and subversion, painting it as an enemy of the hyper-nationalist state. Nowhere was this persecution more systematic and brutal than in Nazi Germany. The Nazi regime, obsessed with purity and control, launched a relentless campaign to eradicate Freemasonry from German society. Drawing on the fabricated mythology of the protocols of the Elders of Zion, Hitler and his propagandists wove Freemasonry into their narrative of a global conspiracy. Masonic symbols were linked with those of Judaism, and the fraternity was denounced as a tool of the so-called Judeo-Masonic plot to undermine the German nation. In 1933, as soon as the Nazis consolidated power, they moved swiftly to dissolve all Masonic lodges. Doors were locked, symbols stripped from buildings, and official decrees stamped the end of centuries-old institutions. The campaign did not stop at dissolution. Masonic property was seized, libraries containing rare and ancient texts were consigned to flames, and membership lists were confiscated. These lists became tools of terror, used to track down and arrest members, their families, and anyone suspected of association. The scale of the persecution was staggering. Historians estimate that between 80,000 and 200,000 Freemasons were targeted by the Nazi regime. Many were forced into hiding, while others were rounded up and sent to concentration camps. Within the barbed wire confines of the camps, Freemasons faced starvation, forced labor, and execution. Their suffering is memorialized today in somber monuments and the silent testimony of those who did not return. Amidst this darkness, a symbol of hope and remembrance emerged. The small, blue forget-me-not flower, once a discreet sign of recognition among German Masons, became a global emblem of resilience. Today, it is worn by Freemasons worldwide in memory of those who suffered and perished during this era of terror. The shadow of persecution stretched far beyond Germany. Across Europe, the fraternity faced relentless suppression, its meeting halls abandoned, its members forced into secrecy or exile. In fascist Italy, Benito Mussolini viewed Freemasonry as a subversive force. He ordered the closure of all lodges, branding the fraternity as a threat to his vision of a unified, obedient nation. Government agents sealed doors, and soldiers patrolled the streets to enforce the ban. In Spain, the aftermath of civil war brought no respite. General Francisco Franco, determined to stamp out all opposition, ruthlessly suppressed Freemasonry. Police raided homes, families mourned the loss of loved ones, and the fraternity was driven deep underground. In the Soviet Union, the communist regime's atheistic and collectivist ideology left no room for spiritual or individualistic brotherhoods. Masonic lodges were outlawed, their meeting rooms left to gather dust, and their symbols erased from public life. The persecution reached a fever pitch in Vichy, France, where collaborationist officials eagerly enforced Nazi policies. French police dragged suspected Freemasons from their homes, and the streets of occupied cities echoed with fear and suspicion. The Vichy government officially banned Freemasonry in 1940, publishing membership lists in newspapers to incite public hatred. Propaganda films, such as Occult Forces, depicted Masonic rituals with disturbing accuracy, fueling suspicion and portraying the fraternity as a sinister cabal. The toll on French Freemasonry was devastating. Meeting halls were vandalized, symbols destroyed, and families left to grieve in silence for those who vanished. Before the war, France boasted nearly 30,000 Freemasons. By the time of liberation in 1945, only 5,000 remained, a stark testament to the scale of the repression. Hundreds were deported to concentration camps, executed, or died in prison. The loss was not only of lives, but of a vibrant tradition nearly extinguished by hatred and fear. Yet, even in the darkest hours, the spirit of Freemasonry endured. In secret, members continued to meet, to support one another, and to keep alive the ideals of liberty and brotherhood. With the fall of totalitarian regimes, a new dawn broke. In France, General Charles de Gaulle formally restored the rights of Masonic lodges, signalling a return to freedom and dignity for the fraternity. The process of rebuilding was slow and painstaking. Meeting halls were restored stone by stone, symbols were lovingly returned to their places, and the bonds of brotherhood were renewed. The survival of Freemasonry through the age of extremes stands as a powerful testament to the resilience of its ideals, enduring even in the face of the 20th century's most destructive forces. As the world stepped into the 21st century, Freemasonry emerged from the long shadow cast by the turbulence and suspicion of the previous era. The fraternity, with its roots stretching back centuries, found itself at a crossroads, facing the challenge of remaining relevant in a landscape defined by rapid technological advancement, shifting social values, and the relentless pace of global change. The lodges, once shrouded in secrecy and tradition, began to reconsider their place in a society that now demanded transparency and openness. The aftermath of the 20th century was a period of introspection for Freemasonry. Lodges worldwide undertook the task of rebuilding, not just their physical spaces, but their public image and internal culture. This era saw a deliberate shift. The fraternity began to open its doors figuratively and literally to the outside world. The once guarded halls now echoed with discussions about how to communicate their values and purpose to a skeptical public. In the digital age, Freemasonry recognized that secrecy could breed misunderstanding. Grand lodges established comprehensive websites, offering detailed explanations of their history, principles, and charitable work. Virtual tours, online archives, and digital libraries became tools for demystifying the organization. The fraternity's embrace of technology marked a significant departure from its insular past, signaling a willingness to engage with the broader community and dispel centuries-old myths. This transformation was not merely cosmetic. The move towards openness was a strategic response to the information age, where rumours and conspiracy theories could spread unchecked. By proactively sharing their story, Freemasonry sought to reclaim its narrative, emphasizing its commitment to ethical conduct, personal growth, and community service. The 21st century also brought a re-examination of long-standing traditions. While the core rituals and symbols remained closely guarded, the fraternity began to reflect on its historical exclusivity. The question of who could participate in the Masonic journey became a subject of debate and gradual evolution, mirroring broader societal conversations about inclusion and equality. Historically, the fraternity's membership was strictly defined, with rigid boundaries drawn around tradition and identity. Yet as the world changed, so too did the organization's understanding of its own legacy. New branches and orders emerged, each interpreting the ancient landmarks in ways that reflected the evolving values of their time and place. While some Grand Lodges maintained strict adherence to tradition, others experimented with new forms of organization and ritual. The result was a tapestry of Masonic practice, diverse, sometimes divergent, yet united by a shared commitment to the core ideals of brotherhood, relief, and truth. This adaptability has been both a strength and a challenge. The fraternity's ability to evolve has allowed it to survive and thrive in changing times, but it has also required careful negotiation between innovation and tradition. The balance between preserving the mysteries and embracing the modern world remains a central tension within the organization. At its core, Freemasonry's enduring relevance in the 21st century is rooted in its timeless appeal to the human search for meaning. The Lodge, with its rituals and symbols, offers a structured environment for contemplation, ethical inquiry, and the pursuit of self-improvement. In an era often characterized by fragmentation and uncertainty, these ancient practices provide a sense of continuity and purpose. The lodge room, whether physical or virtual, serves as a sanctuary from the distractions of daily life. Here, the focus shifts from material concerns to philosophical reflection, from individual ambition to collective aspiration. The symbols and allegories, passed down through generations, invite participants to consider their place in the world and their responsibilities to others. Charity and service remain at the heart of Masonic activity. Lodges around the globe dedicate resources to a wide array of causes, from medical research and education to disaster relief and community development. These efforts, often conducted quietly and without fanfare, reflect the fraternity's enduring commitment to the principle of relief. More than 3 centuries after its formal establishment, Freemasonry stands as a testament to the power of tradition and adaptation. The organization has weathered wars, revolutions, and waves of social change, each era leaving its mark on the fabric of the fraternity. The secret of Freemasonry's longevity lies in its ability to hold fast to its foundational values while continually adapting its outward forms. The principles of brotherhood, relief, and truth remain unchanged, even as the methods of communication and organization evolve with the times. For those who embark on the Masonic journey, the experience is deeply personal. It is not about wielding power or influence, but about engaging in a lifelong process of self-discovery and moral development. The rituals and teachings serve as guides, encouraging reflection, humility, and a commitment to higher ideals. The fraternity's system of mentorship and mutual support fosters a sense of belonging and shared purpose. Through regular meetings, study and service, members are encouraged to become better individuals, more thoughtful, compassionate and engaged with the world around them. Ultimately, it is this simple yet profound mission, the pursuit of personal and collective betterment, that ensures Freemasonry's continued relevance. As the world changes, the fraternity's commitment to timeless values and its willingness to adapt will allow it to remain a meaningful force for generations to come. Across the world, Masonic architecture quietly weaves its story into the urban landscape. From grand temples to understated lodges, Buildings shaped by Freemasonry serve as silent custodians of its history and values. Each structure, though unique in style and scale, shares a common language, a tapestry of symbols and design elements that speak to those who know how to look. The most recognizable features often begin with the facade. Columns, typically arranged in pairs, stand as guardians at the entrance. These pillars, named Yakin and Boaz in Masonic tradition, represent strength and stability. Their classical design, sometimes Doric, sometimes Ionic, harks back to ancient temples echoing Freemasonry's reverence for antiquity. Above the doorway, the square and compasses frequently appear, sometimes accompanied by the letter G. These emblems are more than decoration. They encapsulate the fraternity's core teachings. The square signifies morality and virtue, the compasses, the boundaries of personal conduct. The G is often interpreted as a symbol for geometry, the order underlying the universe, or for the great architect, a guiding force in Masonic thought. Inside, the lodge room itself is a study in symbolic geometry. The floor is typically tiled in a checkerboard pattern, alternating black and white squares. This mosaic pavement represents the duality of human experience, light and darkness, good and evil, joy and sorrow. It serves as a constant reminder to seek balance and wisdom in all things. The orientation of the lodge is deliberate. Traditional Masonic buildings are aligned east to west, mirroring the path of the sun. The master's chair, set in the east, faces the rising dawn, signifying enlightenment and new beginnings. 3 lesser lights, placed at the east, south and west, symbolize knowledge, strength and beauty, illuminating the sacred space. Throughout the building, subtle motifs abound. The all-seeing eye may be carved into woodwork or painted onto ceilings, reminding all who enter of the importance of vigilance and integrity. The acacia leaf, symbolizing immortality and renewal, often appears in decorative friezes or stained glass. The hourglass, the beehive, and the blazing star are among other recurring motifs, each with layers of allegorical meaning. Even the building materials carry significance. Stone, the medium of the operative Masons, is both literal and metaphorical. Rough stones at the entrance may symbolize the unrefined state of the initiate, while polished stones inside represent the transformation achieved through learning and self-discipline. Notable examples can be found in cities across continents. The United Grand Lodge of England in London, with its imposing Art Deco facade and richly symbolic interior, stands as an iconic monument to Masonic ideals. In Washington, D.C., the House of the Temple combines neoclassical grandeur with intricate symbolism, its staircases and chambers echoing the journey of moral ascent. Smaller lodges too often incorporate these elements, weaving the Masonic story into the fabric of local communities. Through architecture, Freemasonry communicates its values without words. Each building, whether grand or modest, serves as a physical manifestation of the fraternity's enduring quest to transform the ordinary into the extraordinary, the mundane into the meaningful. In stone and symbol, the silent language of Masonry endures, inviting reflection, inspiring curiosity, and standing as a testament to centuries of craft, philosophy, and tradition. Freemasonry's influence extends far beyond secret rituals and symbolic architecture. Throughout history, its ideals and iconography have quietly shaped the world of art, literature, and music, leaving an indelible mark on culture. In the visual arts, symbols like the square and compasses, the all-seeing eye and the beehive frequently appear, sometimes hidden in plain sight. Artists such as Jean-Baptiste Greuze and William Blake subtly wove Masonic allegories into their paintings, using light, geometry and composition to reflect themes of enlightenment and moral transformation. Even in the design of public monuments, Masonic principles of harmony and proportion have guided the hands of sculptors and architects, creating works that resonate with layered meaning. Literature too bears the imprint of Masonry. Classic works like Goethe's Faust and Alexandre Dumas' The Count of Monte Cristo are imbued with Masonic themes of personal growth, secrecy, and the quest for truth. The poetry of Rudyard Kipling, himself a Mason, is laced with fraternal references, exploring the bonds of brotherhood and the pursuit of wisdom. In more recent times, novels and mysteries, such as those by Dan Brown, have drawn inspiration from Masonic lore, captivating readers with tales of coded messages and ancient secrets. Music has also echoed with Masonic motifs. Composers like Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart and Joseph Haydn, both members of the fraternity, infused their works with symbolic gestures and structures. Mozart's opera, The Magic Flute, stands as a celebrated example, its libretto and score rich with allegories of initiation, virtue and enlightenment. Masonic lodges themselves have long been patrons of music, commissioning pieces for ceremonies and gatherings, ensuring that the ideals of harmony and unity resonate not just in stone, but in sound. Through brushstroke, verse and melody, Freemasonry's silent language has inspired generations of creators. Its enduring presence in art, literature and music continues to invite curiosity and reflection, a testament to the fraternity's profound impact on the creative spirit. Within the walls of a Masonic lodge, secrecy and ritual form the very core of the fraternity's identity. Every gesture, phrase and symbol is carefully chosen, woven together to create a tapestry of meaning that extends back centuries. The use of secrecy is not merely for exclusivity, but serves as a powerful tool for personal reflection and spiritual growth. Rituals, structured and solemn, guide initiates through a journey of self-discovery, emphasizing virtues such as integrity, charity and wisdom. The symbolic language of Freemasonry is both ancient and evolving. The square and compasses, the trowel and the blindfold, each represent lessons in moral conduct and the pursuit of truth. The act of passing through degrees is not simply a ceremony, but a transformative process, echoing the stages of life and enlightenment. Over time, these rituals have adapted, blending operative traditions with speculative philosophies, yet their essence remains: to challenge, to inspire, and to unite. Throughout history, the commitment to secrecy has protected the fraternity's traditions, allowing them to endure periods of suspicion and upheaval. The private nature of Masonic meetings fosters a sense of trust and equality among members, reinforcing the bonds of brotherhood. Yet the true purpose of these hidden rites is not exclusion, but contemplation, inviting each participant to seek meaning beyond the visible and to find harmony within themselves. In the silent chambers of the lodge, secrecy and ritual become more than mere tradition. They are the living heart of Freemasonry, sustaining its legacy and guiding its future. Throughout history, Freemasonry's influence has reached far beyond the quiet chambers of its lodges, subtly shaping the course of political movements and revolutions around the world. As Enlightenment ideals began to sweep across Europe and the Americas, Masonic lodges became fertile ground for the exchange of radical ideas about liberty, equality and fraternity. In 18th century France, many key figures of the French Revolution were active Freemasons. The principles of brotherhood and universal rights discussed within lodge walls echoed in the revolutionary slogans that shook the monarchy. Likewise, in the American colonies, prominent founding fathers such as George Washington, Benjamin Franklin and Paul Revere were members of the craft. Their Masonic values informed the ideals woven into the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution. Freemasonry's impact was not confined to the West. In Latin America, leaders like Simon Bolivar and José de San Martin, both Masons, drew upon the fraternity's networks and philosophies in their struggles for independence from colonial rule. Across the globe, the clandestine nature of Masonic meetings offered cover for political dissenters, enabling the safe discussion of reform and revolution. Yet, the fraternity's involvement in political change was complex and varied by region. While some lodges actively promoted reform, others remained strictly non-political, focusing solely on personal improvement and charity. This ambiguity often fueled suspicion and conspiracy theories, especially among authoritarian regimes wary of secret societies. Despite such controversies, the historical record reveals that Freemasonry played a subtle but significant role in advancing ideas of democracy, individual rights, and social progress. By fostering dialogue and unity among diverse individuals, the fraternity helped sow the seeds of political transformation, leaving an indelible mark on the world's most pivotal revolutions. From its European origins, Freemasonry has woven a tapestry of traditions that spans continents and cultures. As the fraternity spread across the globe, each region interpreted Masonic rituals, symbols, and customs through its own historical and cultural lens, giving rise to a rich diversity of practices. In England, the birthplace of modern Freemasonry, lodges maintain a formal atmosphere steeped in centuries-old ritual. The regalia and ceremonies reflect the order's deep connection to medieval stonemasons and the architecture of grand cathedrals. Travelling to Scotland, unique rites such as the Mark Mason degree highlight the country's distinctive contributions, blending ancient legends with local folklore. Scottish lodges often emphasise the operative origins of the craft, preserving traditions that predate the formal Grand Lodge era. Across the Atlantic, American Freemasonry developed its own flavour. Shaped by the ideals of liberty and democratic governance, here rituals often incorporate patriotic elements, and lodges are known for their strong emphasis on community service and charitable works. In Latin America, Freemasonry became intertwined with struggles for independence and social reform. Lodges in countries like Mexico, Brazil, and Argentina have adapted rituals to reflect local languages and customs, while sometimes adopting esoteric symbols unique to the region. Meanwhile, in Africa and Asia, the fraternity encountered vibrant spiritual traditions. Lodges in India blend Masonic symbolism with elements of Hindu and Islamic culture, while in West Africa, colourful regalia and music infuse meetings with local character. Even within Europe, variations abound. French Freemasonry is known for its philosophical focus and ornate rituals, while Scandinavian lodges incorporate Christian symbolism and unique degrees not found elsewhere. Despite these differences, a unifying thread runs through every lodge: the pursuit of moral improvement, brotherhood, and the symbolic journey from darkness to light. Whether in a grand urban temple or a humble rural hall, Freemasonry adapts, endures, and thrives, its universal principles expressed through a kaleidoscope of regional traditions. For centuries, Freemasonry has been the subject of countless myths and misunderstandings, fueling both public curiosity and suspicion. But what is truth and what is fiction? One common misconception is that Freemasonry is a secret society with hidden agendas. In reality, while its rituals and symbols are private, the fraternity itself is widely known, with lodges openly listed and many of their charitable works visible in communities around the world. Another myth suggests that Freemasons wield unchecked political power or are part of a global conspiracy. Historical evidence, however, shows that Masonic lodges are independent, with no central authority dictating a unified agenda. Members come from diverse backgrounds and hold a wide range of beliefs, making sweeping conspiratorial claims unlikely. Some believe that Freemasonry is a religion or is incompatible with certain faiths. In fact, Freemasonry is not a religion, but rather a fraternal organization that requires members to believe in a higher power, without dictating specific religious dogma. Its rituals are symbolic and moral, not theological. There are also stories of hidden treasures, secret handshakes, and mysterious powers. While Freemasons do use symbols and gestures to reinforce lessons of morality and brotherhood, these are not tools of influence or magic, but rather traditions meant to inspire reflection and connection. Finally, the idea that Freemasonry is exclusive or elitist overlooks its commitment to charity and community service. Many lodges actively support local causes and welcome members from all walks of life who share the fraternity's values. By peeling back the layers of myth, we find an organization built on fellowship, personal growth, and ethical living, far removed from the shadows of rumor and speculation. Throughout history, the pursuit of knowledge has been at the heart of Freemasonry. The fraternity's core principles, reason, inquiry, and the search for truth, have naturally aligned with the spirit of scientific exploration. From the Enlightenment era onward, Masonic lodges served as gathering places where ideas could be exchanged freely, encouraging curiosity and innovation. The symbolic tools of Freemasonry, such as the square, compass and level, are not only reminders of moral conduct, but also of the precision and discipline essential to scientific work. Masonic teachings often reference the natural world, promoting a respect for observation, evidence, and the laws of nature. Historically, many lodges cultivated libraries and hosted lectures on mathematics, astronomy, and the physical sciences, fostering an environment where scientific thought could flourish. The fraternity's emphasis on education and self-improvement helped support early public education initiatives and scientific societies. Freemasonry's influence can also be traced in the language of discovery. The use of allegory and symbolism provided a framework for discussing complex concepts, making abstract scientific ideas more accessible to a broader audience. The universal nature of Masonic philosophy, honouring reason, order, and the mysteries of the universe, mirrors the foundational ideals of scientific inquiry. In the modern era, the legacy of this relationship endures. Freemasonry continues to celebrate the advancement of knowledge and the pursuit of understanding, encouraging members to question, to learn, and to contribute to the unfolding story of science. In this way, the fraternity remains a quiet but enduring ally in humanity's quest to unlock the secrets of the natural world. Within the intricate tapestry of Masonic philosophy, the symbolism of light and darkness occupies a central and enduring role. From the very first moments of initiation, candidates are met with darkness, a metaphor for ignorance, uncertainty, and the unawakened mind. This darkness is not simply the absence of light, but represents a state of unknowing, a blank canvas awaiting the transformative power of knowledge. As the ritual unfolds, the introduction of light is profound and deliberate. Light in Freemasonry stands for truth, wisdom, and understanding, the illuminating force that dispels the shadows of doubt and misconception. The act of receiving light is both a literal and symbolic awakening, marking the passage from ignorance to enlightenment. This journey is not a single event, but a lifelong process, echoing the Masonic belief in continuous self-improvement and the relentless pursuit of truth. Throughout the lodge, the interplay of light and darkness is carefully orchestrated. Candles, lamps, and rays of sunlight are positioned with intention, casting both illumination and shadow. These contrasts remind members of the dualities present in all aspects of life: knowledge and ignorance, virtue and vice, chaos and order. The tools of the craft, such as the blazing star or the all-seeing eye, often radiate light, signifying the watchful presence of higher wisdom and the aspirational goal of moral clarity. Darkness, however, is not portrayed as evil, but as a necessary counterpart to light. It is the fertile ground from which enlightenment emerges, a space where reflection and growth can occur. In Masonic teaching, one must first acknowledge the darkness within to truly appreciate the value of light. This powerful symbolism extends beyond the lodge, shaping the way Freemasons engage with the world. By seeking light, knowledge, understanding and compassion, members strive to overcome the shadows of prejudice, ignorance and division. The dance between light and darkness serves as a constant reminder. It is only by embracing both that one can hope to achieve true wisdom. In this delicate balance, Freemasonry offers a timeless lesson. The search for light is the search for meaning, and every step out of darkness is a step closer to the mysteries that await discovery.